Welcome to a Thursday edition of Splash Play, maybe my favorite edition of Splash Play. We get to build lineups with viewers, preview Thursday Night Football. What else do we have on tap tonight, Chris?
Well, we do have the low probability crystal ball, and I'm going off of no sleep and flying since 4 a.m. this morning on East Coast time. Now we are here to do Splash Play. Pete can't see, so who knows what's going to happen in this wild episode of Splash Play coming up right after the break. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Splash Play, the fantasy football podcast for every game under the sun. And once again, I am Chris Spags, joined by your friend and mine. Oh boy, we are going to be crashing into the wall on this one. He's Peter Overzet. Pete, how are you doing? And I guess you want to explain to the people your affliction. Well, actually, I go get my props for the crystal ball segment that I forgot to bring over.
Yeah, so I'm not doing a bit with these these sunglasses. About 20 minutes ago, I got, you know how when you sometimes stare at your screen for too long and you get the sun blot kind of thing popping up? That happened to me. And so my eyes are basically pretty fucked right now, although putting on these sunglasses is helping me out a ton. So I am going to be the douchey guy wearing sunglasses throughout the show because it really is helping me.
It honestly seems like, and Pete, I believe you. I believe all Pete's, really. That's one of the things that I always say. But I do think that it feels like you're just using this as a way to get Sal Vetri's color matrix into your life and now get those views up, maybe get your TikTok views up as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to hide from my skin that is growing more and more pale by the day. Hang on, I was confused because you were traveling. I thought you were going to be in Louisville. Did you go to Louisville and come back in this short amount of time?
Yeah, I went to Louisville, was there at as you can see, I got my fancy new shirt from our parent company, Champion Gaming, that owns Edge Sports and Football Outsiders. And was there, left early Tuesday, but got there like at 3:45 or 4 o'clock on Tuesday. So I missed half of the meeting that I had to miss, but there was just no way to do it with flying direct from LA. And then, I woke up this morning at 4:30 East Coast time, was then en route to the airport, had a terrible experience with Spirit. I know people don't care about hearing travel stuff, but I just have to say, like, it was one of those where, like, I had the boarding pass checked in yesterday, went there, the boarding pass was gone, and it was like, see agent. So I went to the TSA pre-check line, got to the front. They were like, we can't let you in with this. Had to go back to the front agent, then had to come back again. Thankfully, they let me cut in line. But it's like one of those things where I don't get travel anxiety. I don't really worry about like the plane going down. But when it's like, oh shit, I might miss this flight and be stuck here for 24 more hours, that is when my panic mode sets in.
I mean, the most disturbing part of that story is that you willingly flew Spirit Airlines. Like, what the hell, dude? Was that the only good flight option?
Yes, it was the only good flight option from LA. As I've talked about on here, I am moving to Philadelphia next month, or the Philadelphia area. So that'll be much easier, direct flights with more options. But yes, Spirit is the only direct flight. And if I missed this one, if I didn't somehow get in on this flight today, or they, bump me or whatever, I would have not been able to fly through Spirit for another 24 and a half hours.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So Spirit, not the best. So you have to say, get the extra legroom seats if you are going on there. That does make it slightly more tolerable, as will us being on this show today. So that's what we're going to try to push through. Pete's got his ailments. My brain is addled. I've slept 8 hours in the last 2 days.
We're in rough shape, dude.
Dude, I didn't sleep at all on the Tuesday night either because I'm still on Pacific timing. So like I was up till 2 a.m. on the East Coast and had to wake up at 7 to get ready to do a work day, a full day of meetings, had to present stuff. So brain functionality, Pete, I don't know if you know this, generally going to be really important when meeting people for the first time and giving presentations.
Yeah, what's the word? Are they happy with Splash Play? Did we get a performance review?
I think that they were impressed by our numbers. It certainly didn't hurt that old Sal Vetri came on Friday, gave us a big boost to our biggest episode numbers ever. So I will give the full credit to Sal on that one. In this venue, though, in the meeting venue, obviously it's all Pete and my genius and strategy that we've put together to build the show.
That's right. Well, I'm glad that you made it out of that trip relatively unscathed.
I did. And unfortunately, I guess you're suffering more, but we're going to push through it, guys. And we appreciate each and every one of you guys for being here. So please, whether you're watching on Pete's channel or on the Splash Play channel, or if there's some third-party pirate site out there that's really going for esoteric fantasy football content, hit the like button wherever you are, because it does help us out a lot getting seen more on YouTube. So please do that for us and really all your favorite YouTube content creators. Make sure to go follow at Splash Play Pod as well, because we will follow you back on there. And then if you unfollow us, we will unfollow you spitefully and never view you again. So that's the upside upside and the downside of following us at Splash Play Pod on Twitter and Instagram. And of course, make sure to give this podcast 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts, because we've been getting some great reviews from people. And actually, Pete, before we promote the viewer guests we're going to have coming up here, we got one more review that came through an Apple Podcast the other day, and it was specifically about the low probability crystal ball segment we'll be doing today, referring to us as Miss Cleo cosplayers is what that review did.
I mean, that's pretty accurate. I don't even find that negative or positive. It's just like literally describing the bit.
I mean, I think for me personally, like, I would love to be Miss Cleo. Like, if we could, like, we had talked a little bit about, the concept of the, betting stuff over the weekend. And at some point, the analogy came up of like, oh yeah, but like, would we want some better, somebody like, selling content if they were doing like tarot cards or whatever? And I was like, yeah, if they're doing a great show and they're doing tarot cards, like, I don't care. That's not data. Like, obviously you probably shouldn't follow their bets that closely, but I think, Pete, you would see the appeal too, right? Like, you would have that person on your channel in a heartbeat.
Yeah, for sure. There was this, one of my favorite comedians, Chris Gethard, way back in the day. It was like right when, way more of the social media apps had started to crop up, but he had like a hater that was just like trolling him in YouTube comments, and he kept reaching out to him and basically flew him out to New York to do a one-on-one interview with this hater. And it's one of my favorite pieces of content. So I love that idea of talking with people who troll you.
And speaking of haters, or I guess not so much haters, one of our cherished viewers here on Splash Play who won our giveaway here. We're giving away guest spots if you leave us those 5 stars and review an Apple Podcast. Will be joining us today. Paul Adair will be here to do a showdown lineup and build with us and hang out with us. We'll ask some questions. We'll do that. So if you want to be like Paul or like our guys who were on last week as well, feel free to leave us those 5 stars and review, and we'll start giving out some more random tickets here, some golden tickets. And no, poor Josh Frick just wants Google Podcasts. And as the weeks go on, Pete, I think we may never be on a Google Podcast.
I mean, can you just let us get back to full health? I mean, Spags is running on like 1.5 hours of sleep. I can't fucking see shit. And you're worried about Google Podcasts right now, Joshua? Just like, give us a little bit of time. The devs are working on it.
Yeah, it's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes.
I'll write it down. I'll put it on my to-do list. I have Splash Play hoodies. I'm going to write down Splash Play Google Podcasts. We'll get this done.
There we go. All right. So Pete's making it happen. That's the kind of VIP treatment you get when you are here in the Splash Play chat. We appreciate all of you guys for being here live, but let's start talking about some week 5 news. And one big news item, Pete, one that we've been clamoring for all year: Justin Fields will officially be the starter over Andy Dalton moving forward, despite Matt Nagy saying the opposite. For literal months, Justin Fields' response to being the reporter, I know this was in the Fantasy Life newsletter. I retweeted it last night too, because I was like, this is just hilarious. But Justin Fields, response to a reporter asking him about how he feels being the Bears franchise QB for the next 10 to 15 years. And his response, Pete, I don't know if we're going to be on this earth for the next 10 to 15 years, which is probably the outlook you don't want from your QB starter, though. Very funny response by Justin Fields.
No, that ended up in the Fantasy Life newsletter because of your retweet. So thank you for flagging that royalty.
No hat tip, Pete?
I mean, come on. We got to draw the line somewhere here. I can't be spilling ink over Spags hat tips. There was a funny one. Kyle Shanahan had one, I think, earlier this offseason too, when they kept asking him about, is Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo the starter? And he had some quote. He's like, I don't even know if we're going to be here next week, much less who's going to be my starter. So I love this kind of nihilist outlook from the NFL these days.
It's like, do you ever follow that Arby's nihilist handle? Like,
yeah,
where they're just like, I think that's basically what it is. And I'm glad it's finally hitting the mainstream. And I have to point out, I know we need to talk about the news, but I did have Arby's for the first time in literal years last night, because yeah, I didn't get, I forgot to eat across the process of we had the meetings. I then went out with some of the team and took them out to drinks or whatever. And I didn't eat in that process because I was, I don't know, a power move. I was just too, whatever it was. But I was planning on getting a hot chicken. The place was closed. So I got Arby's. Gotta say, Arby's is much better than I remember it being.
What was your order?
I got the big beef guy and some mozzarella sticks, and that was enough to keep me alive after drinking, I would say, a few too many White Claw surges followed by margaritas.
I'm not a big Arby's guy, mainly because of the roast beef. I don't mind their curly fries, and I also really like their Jamocha shakes. They have this coffee milkshake that is really good. But yeah, not a big roast beef guy.
I wasn't a big fan growing up, but I was willing to give him a chance, and I'm glad that I did. And Dustin, I think, is a Louisville native who's upset that I didn't eat there. I did have dinner at Naive on Tuesday with our management team, so that is one that I did get in there, if you're familiar with that one. Healthy food, but really well done. And I'll be back next month and probably every month after that. So if you want to come hang out with me and tell me where to go in Louisville, I'm there for you. And historical anomalies, by the way, Edge needs to step their game up. Spags deserves a private jet. Boy, that's a lofty ask. I agree. I think that's what we've all been saying, Pete.
I mean, how many views do these videos have to get to when you start getting a private jet out to Louisville? Do we need to be like 1 million an episode?
I think we at least have to be in the 100,000 range, I would think. I mean,
and
really well monetized at that 100,000.
Smash that like button. Put Spags on a jet.
Yeah, please subscribe if you can. Give us 5 stars and a review. Back to the news, though. We're all over the place. Chris Carson probably won't play tonight due to what Pete Carroll is calling a recurring neck issue. And that's not good, Pete. That's not something you want to hear. I know you talked about it again a little bit in the Fantasy Life newsletter today, but how are you feeling about Chris Carson in this spot? I guess we still don't know for sure he's not going to play, but Alex Collins did pick up some snaps last week, as again, you pointed out in the newsletter. So something we talked about as well earlier in the week, but Alex Collins, it looks like, could be an interesting showdown play tonight.
Yeah, it sounds pretty bad. This next stuff, I was kind of digging around to see if I could find any reports, and it seems very, very doubtful he plays tonight. And it seems also likely that this could be a multi-week injury. And I don't know if I can't even think of any comparisons for neck injuries. I mean, that just seems so much more serious, especially for kind of a collision position like the running back. So yeah, I think Alex Collins is going to be involved in a big way. I expect to see Travis Homer on pass downs. And the question really is, does this turn into kind of a 3-way committee, with a DJ Dallas type, coming in there and getting some extra carries, or can Alex Collins, really maintain the Chris Carson role and Travis Homer picks up a little bit extra pass work?
Yeah, definitely some machinations that could go on with that backfield and the rotation, but Alex Collins has been the one getting the work, so clearly you're going to go to him as your guy. You expect to get a lot of ownership, and as Pete says, I think Travis Homer being somebody that could be the pivot point, or DJ Dallas. Play these guys if you are playing Showdown. Check your run the sim, see how those captain odds are looking and all that, or your awesome odds, wherever you're going. Use them all, honestly. Pair them all together. The more data you get in your life from different places and compare it together, the better off you'll be. And that also includes Football Outsiders, by the way, because I didn't do that plug. FootballOutsiders.com/subscribe. Go over there, check out FO Plus, where we talk about DVOA. We talk about all the great numbers on Football Outsiders in this show and really across the industry. You will hear DVOA referenced everywhere. That's because it was created lovingly by Aaron Schatz and the team over there. So go FootballOutsiders.com/subscribe. Get the team DVOA numbers, get the defense versus receivers, which is really helpful in terms of the DVOA there, what the wide receivers are producing against various defenses. So lots of good stuff to check out for yourself at FootballOutsiders.com/subscribe. Another big injury, Pete, or I guess not really an injury, but personal reasons. Calvin Ridley won't be going to London for the game against the Jets. Russell Gage remains out, and I think my low probability crystal ball might have a hot take for this one, but how are you feeling about this one with Ridley? Already the Falcons kind of looking down to start the year, and it does seem like their top receiver not traveling to Europe seems like an issue that, I guess we'll learn more. Hopefully we will.
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to get pretty spooked out about this being a lost season for Calvin Ridley. He's already been kind of a guy that sunk you if you took him at the 1-2 turn, where he was going in a lot of those underdog drafts. He was going, early to mid second in most of the season long drafts. And yeah, I'm worried. It's like a combination of this offense not being aggressive. Arthur Smith, I think, has been, kind of exposed a bit as a fraud. I don't think he's as much of a offensive revolutionary as, we were maybe giving him credit for in Tennessee. And now this guy, we never know with personal issues. We had Will Fuller miss a week as well with a personal issue, and you never know what's going on with these guys' lives, but it is very, very disappointing to have Calvin Ridley, who I think realistically could have challenged for, the top target leader in the NFL this year based on how things set up for him. And now it seems like Kyle Pitts is going to have a massive workload. I assume we'll see some Olamide, Zacchaeus, who's the other guy? Christian Blake probably steps into 3 wide receiver
Tajay
sets.
Sharp is there too.
Tajay Sharp. So yeah, this is going to be pretty gross in London.
Yeah, it's got to be Kyle Pitts or bust. You would think, a guy that do feed the ball pretty well with Calvin Ridley on the field. But I'm strongly in your camp, Pete. I'm disappointed by Calvin Ridley. I took him in a 0 RB format in the one season-long league I'm doing this year, and it has not gone well, relying on Calvin Ridley and Stephon Diggs as my 2 receivers there. So that's when 0 RB goes wrong, even though there are so many ways that it can go right. Other news, we got Jimmy Garoppolo now expected to play. Didn't practice yesterday, but I think we'll know a little bit more about that in the coming hours. I haven't seen 49ers practice news yet. Pete, this is a bummer, and I think, you get get it when you're Jimmy Garoppolo, as a guy who doesn't want to lose that job, doesn't want to get Wally Pip, to use the old expression that probably doesn't mean anything to the people under 30 watching this stream. But Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, afraid, terrified of losing this job to Trey Lance, and Kyle Shanahan too. I think the betting markets also did show that when it looked like it might be Trey Lance starting, the lines were a little bit less favorable, whereas Jimmy Garoppolo starting a little more favorable. So maybe he's not all the way there, but I know you wanted to see Trey Lance play. I want to see Trey Lance play. We want to see him over Jimmy Garoppolo, who, quite frankly, has been, I would say, one of the biggest disappointments again this year.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the Wally Pip thing. I know exactly what it means, but I only know what it means from hearing it as a reference, like through contextual clues. It's like a child that puts it together.
He replaced somebody on the Yankees, I want to say, and that was the thing. Like he lost the job to Lou Gehrig. Is the thing. So Lou Gehrig took his spot, and then Wally Pip was the starter, and then Lou Gehrig obviously never gave the job back until he had his unfortunate disease that ironically was named after him.
There you go. Thank you for that lesson. I didn't mean to sound like a dick when I said that. I legitimately appreciate.
Blind Pete is so mean. just hitting us with your cane over the head.
No hat tips. Thanks for the history lesson, you fucking idiot. What was I gonna say? It does seem like Jimmy Garoppolo could sit, but he has to be terrified. He knows that the second Trey Lance gets a full game, like, you're not putting that genie back in the bottle. And it's frustrating to me. I want Trey Lance to be a thing. I guess I will say, as a DFS player, I would like this news to drag out and for Jimmy Garoppolo to be truly questionable heading into Sunday, because I do think at 5,700, Trey Lance, if he was announced the starter right now, I think he would become the most popular quarterback on the slate, might even surpass Dak. Just at that price tag and in that matchup with a high scoring game, he'd be very popular. So I guess if there's a silver lining to this, is maybe Jimmy G will be a late scratch.
Yeah, we'll see here. They are playing Arizona this week. Pretty decently high total game, 49.5 in the books. Edge Sports has it at 47. So definitely news here to watch. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have some more clarity on if Garoppolo will for sure be a go or not. Teddy Bridgewater's limited in practice despite being in the concussion protocol. So I think, Pete, this looks like he'd be trending towards playing, where another spot, not great news for Drew Lock, though. Drew Lock also not the most impressive last week, and the reps that he did get after Teddy was concussed. In this spot, Pete, does it matter to you that much, I guess, if Teddy is playing or if he's not?
It honestly doesn't matter a ton. I mean, the Broncos aren't a team that you're double stacking anyways. I think you can still pick your spots. I mean, Cortland Sutton looked awesome last week, at least from a usage standpoint. Noah Fant, I think, is a solid play. Tim Patrick has been just very solid as well. So I think you pick your spots. You play one of these guys if you want, probably as a one-off, because I just don't like this game in general. It feels like a pretty gross game to me. So yeah, I don't know if the lock stuff really changes anything other than, feeling maybe a little bit more volatility if you're playing one of these Broncos guys.
Yeah, and Teddy's been throwing the ball deep enough downfield anyway that I don't know there'd be a big boost to have Lock in there, whose whole game plan really was to throw the ball deep downfield last year, in addition to running somewhat. But either way, you got to think Cortland Sutton's going to get fed against the Pittsburgh defense that has not been very good, and blitzing only 16% of the time this year, which is not one of their staples historically. Other news, we got Dalvin Cook admitted that he's hurt, but he plans to play through it. He still feels like himself, though I think we saw the results last week and really the usage for him last week, Pete, how that did not look great. Would you be confident playing Dalvin Cook? And I guess the question really would be, is this the week to play him in the hopes that he's saying he feels good? People probably won't play him. They'll see that Q tag or whatever's going to be on there on DraftKings and FanDuel. And I think, if you want to take the risk here, playing Dalvin could be a move that does pay off.
Yeah, I would be more interested in it if the Thielen and Jefferson ownership got out of hand, but as usual, it doesn't seem like it is. It seems like both will be under 10% again. The Dalvin Cook stuff sucks that he's trying to force it back, but you know what I kind of my read on the situation, Spags, is he doesn't want to get Wally pipped, by Alexander Madison. So he's probably just going to force his way out there, and would hate to get Wally pipped, a reference that I have a firm grasp on. So I think Dalvin Cook is he's going to play, but I don't get excited about him at that price tag and only being 50%.
Did you know that Wally Pipp lost his job to Lou Gehrig, Pete?
Cool fucking story, bro.
Hat tip me in the Fantasy Life newsletter when we talk about Wally Pipp in there tomorrow. I think that's
lots of Wally Pipp references tomorrow. I'm going to do a 500 word.
You know what bits up next? It's the low probability crystal ball, everybody's favorite. So let's get ourselves where we need to be. I also accidentally grabbed my girlfriend's goat in the midst of this. If people want to see this goat here, he's got a really terrified face that I think is not the most appealing.
That's nice. I feel like you should do one of those tweets where you like post a photo of it and you're like, just took a picture of Tom Brady, and it'll get like 64 likes.
Yeah, I'm sure that would be really great engagement for me in particular, but it's time, Pete, for the low probability. Do you have your crystal ball ready? Can you see it? Can you reach your crystal ball?
I can see it. I mean, I'm going to really try not to phone it in today, but I feel like I'm about to phone it in.
Well, here's the thing with the low probability crystal ball. Last week, the crystal ball, my Buffalo Bills take with the crystal ball's sake. I shouldn't take credit. We're just vessels for what the crystal balls tell us, but we actually did get that one right. So the low probability crystal ball paying dividends if you tease the Bills line up by 10 points, like the crystal ball told us to do last week. But it's that time. We're going to tell you the low probability plays and players that could be worth a lot more after this weekend. And Pete, do you want to try to go first?
How many are we doing? I need to pace myself.
We can just do two.
Thank God. Okay, I can get up for two. I can get up for it. Okay, hang on. Red leather. Character. Hang on. Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather. Okay. Welcome, Spags, to my crystal ball of fate. I look into here every Thursday and I see what will happen on the Sunday slate. You don't have to pay for this show, and yet we give you the future play. Spags, I see extremely high ownership for Davante Adams this week. An incredibly popular play with all the salary opening up. But what if? Just what if Aaron Jones is the one to moonshot, to glow, to soar to heights unforeseen? Another 4-touchdown game for Aaron Jones while everyone plays his more ballyhooed teammate.
My crystal ball says, Pete, what a fantastic effort that was. And your little getting into character moment, truly a marvelous thing to behold. But one more thing we'll behold this week. We discussed it mere moments ago, but the crystal ball simply can't move on from the segment that we pitched just a few minutes ago. And today, the crystal ball is telling me Kyle Pitts will emerge on the scene in the way we've all wished for. 200 yards forthcoming for Kyle Pitts in London. London will be tearing down Big Ben. They'll be calling it Big Kyle Pitts because they're so enamored there. And that's the thing that the crystal ball tells me. Kyle Pitts, play him if you're playing that whatever showdown at 9:30 a.m. East Coast time.
Oh, how creative of you to pick the guy stepping into a 46% target share. I saw it on a fucking billboard earlier. I didn't need to look into a crystal ball to see that happening. Where do I get my money back, you crock of shit?
My crystal balls tell me you're being a little aggressive this week.
I'm sorry. It's a cutthroat industry out here. Sometimes we need to put each other down to bring in more customers. Stay away from this hack fortune teller who tells you everything you already know. Here's my crystal ball. Derrick Henry is going to be a good play this week. Oh, no, that sounds more like a Spags recommendation. My bad. My bad.
My crystal ball is defeated and sad.
Okay, here's an actual one where you get your money's worth. This man burned you all last week. No one will want to touch the man who loves shit himself, Odell Beckham, but instead he will be a good play. His price might have gone up, but his ownership is going down. This game versus the Chargers has sneaky shootout potential. Go back to Odell Beckham. We martingale Odell around here.
Ooh, the crystal ball even uses Pete bits. That's what we want to hear from the crystal ball. My crystal ball has a double hot take here, and perhaps it won't be hot enough for Pete's crystal ball, but my crystal ball tells me, go to the men of Minnesota. Skol is what the crystal ball says, because there will be 2 men on the Millionaire Maker winning lineup this week from the Minnesota Vikings. Which 2? The crystal ball, I'm shaking it. It's unclear which 2, but it does seem like going against Detroit would be fantastic for the purple men, the purple people eaters, we'll call them. That's never been said before. The crystal ball came up with that just now. But Dalvin Cook, perhaps a redemption song. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, so many options to choose. But the crystal ball knows 2 men, Pete, will be yelling Skol in their $1 million winner.
Very nice. You redeemed yourself after the most obvious pick of all time. Thank you.
2 guys in the Millionaire Maker winner. That's a fantastic crystal ball pick. That's exactly what this says. Low probability. You know what that probability is? Like 5% at most.
Right. I wasn't roasting you for that one. I was roasting you for the Kyle Pitts.
I can't tell anymore. Blind Pete's been so mean. It's hard to tell.
How are my eyes doing? I think a little
probably
better.
Not great would be my guess. All right, there we go. There goes the low probability crystal ball. Do we want to do numbers don't lie with Paul, or do we want to do it before Paul comes in?
let's see, Paul, why don't you hop on? I think it's fun to do with the listeners here. So Paul, you have the link. Please join us in the foot. Oh no, we're done with that.
Ooh, perhaps you can see the link in your chat.
No, the best part though is at least Paul isn't in the hopper yet. Last week, our guest literally watched us do that entire bit within the StreamYard green room. And it's so much more embarrassing to just see two people looking at you being like, when is this over?
It doesn't embarrass you to know that there's like 1,000 to 2,000 people watching us do this at any point in the next 24 hours.
No, we got to get to 100,000 to get you on that jet.
That's true. Maybe the crystal ball could get me on the jet. That's the one thing that we can hope for. But it is going to be time here for Numbers Don't Lie. Actually, let's do Paul. Let's introduce Paul here. Paul looking fresh, got the green hat on. He's here to go. Paul, one of our guest winners who got the golden ticket last week for leaving us 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts. And also, Paul, you're a great member of Pete's community, and I didn't do enough research to know anything else besides that about you. So tell us about your love for Pete is what I'm going to lead with here.
I really wanted to leave a review that referenced like the Monte Carlo Sims. I remember listening last year, and it was always about somebody popping in the Monte Carlo Sims, and I'm like, I don't know. And then I couldn't craft anything good enough, so I'm like, never mind. But I got like the fidget spinner. Bought the kit. I don't have any dogs though, so I have 2 cats. But
shout out to the randomizer boxes. Yeah, excited to have you. You're also a Run the Sims bro, a pillar of the community, as my alter ego Mans might say, and excited to talk some DFS and build lineups with you today.
Yeah, Paul, do you have a team? Do you have any players that you've particularly been finding yourself relying on out there in a way that let's get the relatable stuff out there? Because we all know there are certain guys that we all love to go back to time and time again. So who's your guy?
So I had one really good week last year, week 10. I actually took down the 25K spy with Josh Allen. It was like the Josh Allen versus Buffalo, Arizona game.
Oh, yeah.
In hindsight, the lineup was actually pretty chalky except for like 3 players. So trying to be contrarian this year isn't really working out so well.
Well, honestly,
so
at least you won the spy instead of putting a thumbnail up when you finished 3rd and acting like you won something.
The biggest regret is not putting those 3 lineups into the Millie Maker that week. I've done it in previous weeks, just throw them in there. It would have taken 2nd. So I have yet to get over that.
That's what keeps you up at night, the what ifs with that lineup.
Yeah, it was, I don't know. My wife's like, let it go. You wouldn't have won if you would have entered that in the Millie Maker. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
There you go. It is tough because it can be such a bankroll bleeder. Like I don't toss when we do our tilt space lineups, we do toss ours in the Millie Maker. My own spy lineups, I don't toss them in the Millie Maker because I don't want to just hemorrhage, $100 a week. Like that adds up, So I guess you're constantly having to weigh bleeding your bankroll or the FOMO aspect of it. It's a tough act to figure out.
Yeah, so that's what it's all about here. At the end of the day, you're trying to make the most plus EV moves. So make those spy plays. If you're a single entry guy, make your Millie Makers. What was that? Let's do our Numbers Don't Lie. This will get us back on track where you know the game by now. And if you don't, I'm going to read 3 stats. 2 are true, 1 is a lie. Both Pete and Paul will then guess which one of these 3 stats is a lie. Paul, you've watched the show. Actually, shit, I didn't finish the last one of this, so I have to wing this last one here. But Paul, Numbers Don't Lie. Do you think you're ready for this challenge that has thrown Pete so many times?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, so let's read 3 stats, and then we'll see which ones are true, which ones are false. The first one, a guy who's very buzzworthy that we talked about up top, Justin Fields, will allegedly remain the starter if we're to believe Matt Nagy following a summer declaring Andy Dalton as his starter. But you could have made the case that Fields simply isn't ready for prime time yet. He has a 53% adjusted completion rate, among the worst in the league, and he still has yet to throw for a single passing touchdown. Paul, you're the guest here, so you tell us first. Does that sound true, or does it sound like a lie?
That's true.
Okay.
I love the confidence.
That was, really just.
I'm pretty sure I heard that right. This is harder than I knew it was hard being on these streams, but you really got to focus.
Yeah. Imagine not even being able to see and trying to do this.
I can relate because I work at my computer all day. And if you have a white background, and you have floaters, it's the worst.
Yeah, that's what I have. So I will say, Paul, so I always like to play the game within the game with Spags here. So he did leave that little nugget that he didn't finish the third one, which we know for a fact wouldn't be the correct answer. Because we know the correct answer is going to be one of the first two. So I like your confidence on the first one. We know the third one's going to be complete bullshit. And he's scrambling right now to try to type something that'll vaguely sound realistic. So we're down to 1 out of 2 chance here.
I'm actually, maybe you are, maybe you're not. Here's another one for both of you guys here. Numbers don't lie. The Chiefs, things have to be looking up for the Chiefs in coming weeks, even though they have started a little bit slower. But one guy who started slower than people may realize out there after seeing the performance from his top wide receiver, Tyreek Hill, is Patrick Mahomes. The man has been a hit rate of throwing a lot of touchdowns. I might be making this one up this week.
A hit rate of throwing a lot of touchdowns.
He's got a hit rate. Maybe I didn't write it fast enough. That could be the issue too. Didn't write it well enough. I didn't sleep. That's the whole thing. Anyway, has not been having the hit rate we would normally see on his dropbacks. Normally, he's around a 7% touchdown rate per dropbacks. This year, just 2.5%, putting him firmly in the middle of league average. Pete, does that sound true or does that sound like a lie?
Bullshit.
Paul, now that you know the game, do you think that one is true or a lie as well?
That's false.
Okay. We'll find out, I suppose, in a little bit. Let's go to the third one that I'm also making up off the top of my head. Baker Mayfield doesn't have anyone breathing down his neck like Justin Fields does, but a partially torn labrum could make his status tough to trust moving forward. The numbers show Baker hasn't been quite himself either. He has completed just 32% of his deep passes. He's been responsible for 27% of his team's touchdowns, a mark worse than every other starter this week besides Justin Fields and Davis Mills. Pete, you've heard all three here. Obviously, they all came off the top of my head, so any of them could be true. Any of them could be false. Which one is true? Which one's a lie?
The one that is true is the first one that you put in the spreadsheet when you wanted to do this segment. I'm riding with Paul's pick. Number 1 is true.
Okay, well, which one's a lie? You do know how the game works, right? There's 2 are true, 1 is a lie.
I already told you. 2 are true? Okay.
Yeah, 2 are true.
All right. I thought it was 1 truth and 2 lies. Rolls off the tongue. Paul, you go. I can't do this right now.
I think the last one's true.
Okay, the last one is indeed true. Baker Mayfield performing poorly. Also, Justin Fields performing poorly. Patrick Mahomes not performing that poorly. He is, in fact, throwing a touchdown on over 9% of his dropbacks. Actually, he's throwing them on 9.9%, just shy of 10% of his dropbacks. So perhaps if I'd written it out more, we would have been a little bit less obvious. But you guys win. So congratulations, Paul. You're now 1-0 on your first Splash Play appearance. How does it feel after beating such a difficult game, really, that I laid out with such care?
I mean, I don't know. It's great. I mean, I had to actually rewatch the segment from the previous episode because I'll admit I missed a couple episodes this year, so I had to remember how the game worked.
Kick them out. We're done.
Sorry. I was diehard last year. This year I was spotty.
No, it's fair. We got the 3 days a week. We are on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays now. And as you can tell, we put a lot of love and care in each episode. So it's fine if you miss 1 or 2. But that's how this game goes. Is this guy just switching between accounts, being mean to me in chat? What is the point of that? I don't need this today. I'm tired. Screw you, the Dirt's Card Shop and Reggie Wilson. I don't need that.
Do you want me to block him?
No, let him just keep switching between accounts and be mean to me. Like, I wasn't blessed in the looks department. I think I look great today. I feel like I got a haircut. I'm feeling good.
It's hard to make a call on it because on the one hand, his views and his interaction is a stepping stone to you getting a private jet to Louisville next time. On the other hand, he's being a jerk.
That's true. The haters do make you famous. That is a phrase that we coined a long time ago here on Splash Play, but we'll keep moving forward and I'll persevere, even though the man on YouTube doesn't think I'm the prettiest. Let's talk about Thursday Night Football Showdown DFS, and we're going to do our lineup build. Paul, you saw last week there was a head-to-head. Today it's just you here, so I guess I don't know. We can't be quite as mean here. I can't have a horse in the race, but Paul, you're going to have to build a good lineup that we're going to hopefully win the people some money.
I had a lineup in it earlier.
He's ready.
With Gerald Everett.
Is
that
he? What's it?
Like, yeah.
I thought he was pretty questionable for tonight. Have we gotten word yet?
I think he's still questionable. I haven't seen anything because I think your news item in the Fantasy Life newsletter was the most recent that's out there yet. The West Coast timing for practice, I feel like, makes it weird with the show sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, you do need to remind me, Paul, tonight if we go with Gerald Everett and he's out, you got to remind me to change it.
All right.
All right.
So are we going captain Gerald Everett?
No, I don't want to play. I'm joking.
Oh, okay. Look, Paul, if you want to go Captain Gerald Everett, that's fine. I'm not gonna. I mean, I would certainly question it a little bit, but that's tight ends have been winning a lot of showdowns recently, and people do tend to overlook them.
Wait, so am I going first here at this?
This is your lineup. We're just here to make fun of you if you make a mistake.
All right, so I was playing around with some of the sims, and I always tend to, for some reason, assume the game's going to go way over. Like, I don't know why. I just think it's more fun. So let's just assume the Rams, like, it's like 34-26.
Yeah.
I'm thinking. Sorry, go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
No, these are some really high lines. I just want to point out here the Edge Sports line, which again they're doing 100,000 simulations to land on that based off of the game data from Football Outsiders and everything else. They have the line at 60 today. The books have it at 54. So I think the pass catcher captain seems like it has to be the move. Though I do know Run the Sims had Darrell Henderson also really highly ranked. So definitely you go a lot of options here, and I think get as contrarian as you want.
Yeah, I mean I thought Darrell Henderson was going to be a little bit less owned, but it's kind of a bummer to see him in double digits for captain. So I don't think I'm going to want to do that. I probably would do something like, let's say Tyler Lockett, captain.
I like it.
Okay. Tyler Lockett at captain. So coming off of some down games, you could definitely have a redemption song here. Does seem like the projections for him and DK Metcalf are going to be as close as can be. Pete, I guess, do you want to take a turn here? Or do you want to do the obvious one and put Russell Wilson in?
I thought we got to figure out the structure of this segment. Is Paul building this lineup on his own?
I think we're doing it together. I think we're going one by one.
Okay.
If we have a head-to-head, like if we had another guest on, then Paul would compete against them for our love. But instead, now it's just got to be us.
Okay, Paul, whisper who you want me to take for you. I want you to have a good time on this show today.
Let's do DJ Dallas.
So Spags, I think I do like DJ Dallas. I think he's going to be a nice leverage play tonight without Chris Carson playing. Everyone's going to flock to Alex Collins. DJ Dallas is going to get us unique and save some salary. That's definitely my pick that I came to on my own.
I mean, I think I would personally go Travis Homer, I think, over DJ Dallas, but I understand the want there, and I'll allow it. I'll go along with the team here. I am a team player, if nothing else.
You have no choice.
Yeah, okay, well, I'm a team player, so it's fine. It doesn't matter.
I'm the one clicking the buttons. You could literally say I hate it, and I will never be party to this lineup, and you still wouldn't have a choice.
Well, I would say, though, we probably should have Russell Wilson in there for the correlation with a captain at wide receiver, because that is the strongest correlation you have. If Tyler Lockett's going to have a good enough day, Russell Wilson's going to have a touchdown or two, you would think, in addition to whatever else he does. So put Russell Wilson in, please, if you will.
I will.
Okay,
thank you. Right up there, quarterback wide receiver correlation being strong is right up there with Kyle Pitts being a good play this week.
All right, Paul, you got another pick coming up here. Where do you want to go? I feel like might be a good move to get a Ram in, but follow your heart.
Let's do Van Jefferson.
I love it.
Ooh, okay.
I bet some Van Jefferson props today. I took his over 20.5 yards on his longest catch. Seattle's been vulnerable to deep ball, and I also took his over 3.5 catches on underdog in a pick'em. So I'm on board the Van Jefferson train today.
I think I sort of left enough salary for both of you guys, unless you're going to flip it back to me to make some decent picks by going with DJ Dallas and Jefferson.
I mean, I think we have to spend a little money here. And I guess the question would be for you, Pete, because you are going to make this next pick. Where do you want to go? Do you want one of the loftier Rams price plays? We could take a Darrell Henderson and Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, we definitely need another play on the Rams. So I'm putting this in the play action, which has 158,000. So we can definitely get funky with this. Why don't we do, everyone's going to want to play Cup. I mean, we're going to be able to sit. Yeah. Why don't we do like double stack Stafford? Maybe you could do like Stafford. I guess we won't be able to afford Woods. You could go Stafford and Higbee.
Okay, I'll allow it. And also, Pete, can we clean the chat? I'm done with these guys.
All right,
I think that's yeah. There's a difference between, like, you don't have to watch things. Just for the people out there in chat, like, as you might know from my career, I tend to take this stuff pretty well in stride. But like, if you're not happy with content, don't watch the content. Go do something that makes you happy. I think that's a pretty obvious one overall. So
they're gone.
Yeah, bye Dirt's Card Shop. I'm sure they'll be back here tomorrow in another name, because that's the way it goes. Paul, I'll let you have the final pick here. I feel like we've done enough on our end, and you got to make the tough call. You do have 7K left, so some options you can go to here. So where do you want to go?
Yeah, I like Higbee.
All right. I like this lineup because It tells a story. I think it has some plays that aren't going to be popular. It leaves a decent amount of salary on the table. Lockett and Metcalf have been negatively correlated. So you can see one of those guys going off. And then I think getting off of the Cup chalk, getting off of the Henderson stuff. I think we're probably sacrificing a decent amount of projected points, but I'm guessing this is going to be a fairly unique lineup.
Yeah, I think so too. You know, it'd be more unique if you put John Walford in there instead of Higbee, because you never know. You never know when he can come back in and have his renaissance.
Whenever I'm building these by hand, I cannot do 3-3. I just don't. I don't like it, and that's what we just did.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Normally,
but whatever.
Normally the 3-3s are kind of the chalky construction. I haven't got to run the Sims tonight. Is that what was showing up in the most default?
Yeah, a lot of Darrell, it looked like, in the DIY simulation on Run the Sims, which, of course, Pete is a presented sponsor of. I just have a free account from our pal Justin Freeman, so I take a look there along with everything else. But it does seem like he's got Darrell Henderson being the guy who's most underowned at captain, has him being a hit at about an 18% rate. Actually, there might be a few others here. Go to Run the Sims yourself. And what's the promo code on there? Is it Pete?
Yes, but I was going to say, looking at the optimal lineups, it seems like it's a lot of almost onslaughts. Like Seattle onslaughts, 4-2s, 5-1. So maybe the 3-3 isn't too chalky tonight.
Maybe. I mean, look, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to, I'll tell people honestly, because I've been running pretty well with showdowns. Like, it's a lot of just kind of with the fantasy cruncher process, get your guys down to me, I like having my exposure to 63%. So you kind of can get enough of these guys in your lineups before you sort them out. And then a captain, cut the QBs down at captain the most and go, whatever else happened with the projections you're using. But those, to me, I think are the key things you're doing for showdown. And I've actually, Pete, we haven't talked about this, but since I did have that one near Millie Maker tie, like, I've been doing pretty well in showdowns, and I feel like there's something like in the air with how people are approaching them this year, where the ownership is like not as flat as it used to be, where people would always load up on QB captains. And I just feel like the field's trying to figure out some stuff and not quite figuring out the way you'd want to see.
Yeah, I've been kind of mixing and matching the single entry with playing the 20 max stuff. So I haven't quite picked up on those trends, because you're probably playing more of the same contest routinely than me. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think showdowns to me are the most winnable thing you can have out there. Again, you're sort of trying to sort your process out, use ownership projections. I still use Osmos. I think they do a fantastic job over there. But, for me, it's getting 1,000 lineups on Fantasy Cruncher, making sure you're limiting guys, trying to be mindful of also the value guys that everybody's going to get in an optimizer. And if you do those things, and that sounds like more complicated than it probably is, but if you are just mindful of the ownership, the guys cramming in value plays, and then just get a little bit different with it, you'll find some better results in showdown. So we could talk more about that on another show. But Paul, how do you feel about this game tonight, by the way? Like, do you think there's any chance this could be going completely contrarian and going a more defensive minded, running back minded approach might be the move, given that everybody's going to be chasing that high over under?
I mean, I guess Seattle really can't stop the run. So like these kind of questions crack me up, because I literally don't know. I mean, like, Seattle's been kind of crappy. I mean, every week I seem to want to stack them. Everyone, listen to ETR. It's like, oh, Russ Wilson, he's going to go off this week. And it's like, damn, nothing happens. And then I think maybe tonight's going to go good for Seattle.
Yeah, these divisional games always, they're tough, especially early in the year, because they seem to either go way under or just can be complete shootouts. And I never have a good feel for them.
Yeah, I would say also Tim in the chat asking, why do I want Homer over Dallas? Homer's been ahead of him in the pecking order overall, 10 snaps per game compared to 2 per game for Dallas. Dallas, has been getting the ball roughly around the same rate per snap as Travis Homer has been. But I think DJ Dallas, people, again, like the new shiny toy. If Homer's ownership is substantially higher than Dallas, I could see going the other way. But I think based on the numbers that I'm looking at, like, Collins is clearly the one you would want the most, assuming that Carson doesn't get in. But I think Homer, treat these guys as relatively even plays. But I'd rather have more Homer, I think, than Dallas for myself. In the great debate here of Seattle tertiary and secondary running backs.
It'll probably dud, because every game that we thought was going to be a dud, like the Oakland game, was, a really good game. There was like another one earlier that was like on an island that was not looking that great, but it was ended up being a good game.
Yeah. I mean, I think tonight, I would find it hard to believe this won't be a good game, but especially after the Rams with the big disappointment last weekend against the Cardinals, like I think in this spot, you got to expect them to bring it against another rival. And let's do Pete, I guess, and Paul as well. We can do our ride or die picks for this game, and then we'll build a main slate lineup as well. Just give people that little teaser of what we'll talk about more tomorrow. We'll have John Daigle from NBC Sports Edge joining us on here. So he was on our partner site, Football Outsiders, the other day. Now he'll be on here doing our version of the show. And of course, one of our favorite guests from last year as well. So tune in tomorrow, 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific to see him join the show. But let's do the ride or die picks. And Pete, you could set the table here as much as you want. Of course, we are usually ebbing towards the showdown captains, but I guess you could do whatever you want if you want to get creative with the 1, 3, or 1, 3, and 10 pointers.
Yeah, Paul went ahead and did Lockett. I'm going to go ahead and play the other side. I'll say DK Metcalf, winning showdown captain. He has had a higher target share than Lockett so far this season. Not a massive difference, but I'm such a sucker. I always play Jefferson over Thielen. I always play Metcalf over Lockett, and I'm not about to change now.
Okay, so for me then, so you guys have taken the 2 alpha predators here for Seattle. So the leverage move seems like it would be Gerald Everett, captain, but I don't know that that's the move I personally would want to do. What's his ownership like? Oh man, he's at 2% less at captain. But fuck it. Gerald Everett or whatever tight end might be there tonight. If Gerald Everett doesn't play at captain is my choice.
All right. Yeah. So it'd probably be Will Disley again would be your guy as a fill-in if Gerald Everett's out. There
I mean,
go.
real
Probably
sexy
Freddie
options either way.
Freddie Swain captain. Yeah. You can make that pivot if you like.
I did pick him to outscore, I think, all of the Niners receivers last week, and that did not go very well.
That's right, CB. Make sure your lineup tells a story. Mm-hmm. If you can't spin a 20,000 word yarn about your lineup, don't bother submitting it.
Exactly. Yeah, really, it should be more like a college essay or an AP essay. Like, if you could do that about your lineup, then you know that lineup is guaranteed to win you all the money and all the tournaments out there. Paul, are you ready to build a Sunday main slate lineup? Pete, Blind Pete, are you ready to build a Sunday main slate lineup?
Yeah, Blind Pete still crushing it on the StreamYard screen share. We persevere. This is kind of my Jordan flu game. I refuse to get Wally pipped by someone who would step in and host the show in my absence. So that's what we're doing.
Paul, were you listening to the show beforehand?
Yes.
Okay, so do you know who Wally Pipp was replaced by?
I mean, I heard the story. I guess I wouldn't remember that at all without listening earlier.
Oh, it's Lou Gehrig, but in case you missed that part. Everybody else.
Oh, we know Spags. This is Spags' best party trick, telling the backstory to the Wally Pipp story.
I feel like you have to be like 70 or 80 to tell that story.
Spags is an old soul.
I've actually, it's a Shao Kahn thing for me, or a Shang Tsung thing, where I'm eating souls to stay young looking, and then then eventually I'll wither away and die when Liu Kang wins the tournament. I think is how that goes. Let's do the first pick here, Paul. You can go however you want. If you want to take a running back, if you want to take a wide receiver to start the stack up, do whatever you want here for the first pick of our Sunday main slate lineup.
All right, let's see. What do you guys do if the player has a Q tag? Just let it ride?
Let it rip.
As far as like, if they're out, it doesn't matter, right?
No, I mean, you got to ping me.
Thesis of the play.
You got to ping me to remind me to make your swap on Sunday morning.
All right, let's see. Let's go Chase Edmonds.
Ooh, okay, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, talk it through. I'm intrigued.
I mean, I had this weird thing where I, for some reason, like to play the running back with the tight end. So, like, I hope we can take Kittle.
I like
the opposite. Yeah.
All right, he's leading the witness, Spags. Will you fall for this trick? He wants the mini correlation.
I also just have to point out that I actually think that's an interesting play because James Conner's are running so hot with touchdowns in a way where Edmonds eventually has to start to see some of that back, especially with him getting more snaps, running more routes, all that stuff. So I think a pretty heady play there by Paul. I will say, all right, so we want to do a bring back thing. How about Jimmy Garoppolo?
Get out of here. Don't ruin this lineup.
Why? We're correlating.
No, I mean, let's play whoever you want to stack Jimmy G with without Jimmy G, and then we can play Fields.
Fine. I mean, I feel like it has to be Debo. I think Debo's price still not coming up enough on drafting, 6,500. I think Debo, still over 10 targets a game. He's a monster. I'll give him that shot.
You just put me in such a hard spot. You want to know why? Because Paul just clearly said he wanted Kittle. So now if I do Kittle,
do Kittle now.
No, because if we do Kittle, then we have to go Jimmy G, and then you get what you want. So I'm forced to decide between giving Paul what he wants or you what you want.
This is why you're not good at chess, Pete. I think you didn't realize. that all went. I boxed you in.
I made a bad pick by doing Edmonds first. The Discord's going to be upset that I didn't do anybody bigger name.
Oh, not at the start of practices, Jimmy G, according to our boy Ivan, reporting from the Niners practice himself, I can only assume.
All right. I crystal balled this. I should say my Cleo cosplay character crystal balled this, but let's do Aaron Jones.
Okay. All right, Paul, we're back to you. Who do you want with that one? And I guess I'll repeat, you already explained your logic for Aaron Jones. And the crystal ball did really. So Paul, who do you want then coming up next?
Let's do Daniel Jones.
Wow. Stack him up, Spags.
I mean, that's hard to not go to a guy who had 400 yards last week and now $5,800 though. We are going to get a lot of the guys back this week. So maybe that does kind of throw off the feng shui a little. I guess I'll ride with Kenny Galladay. I think that's the move here. Does look like Dallas does play a lot of man on the year, playing it 44% of the time, playing zone 56% of the time. Galladay's been the best man receiver for the Giants on the year with 2.2 yards per route run. So I will take Galladay and feel good about it.
All right. This lineup is a deep state lineup, the all Q lineup today here.
Willie K saying get more Qs in there. Can we get more Qs that we actually like?
Do not tempt me with a good time because I will specifically look for Qs. All right. AJ Brown returning from injury. No one's going to want to play him. He's got that Q tag we love. Let's do it.
Gonna be a real low owned lineup because nobody wants to play guys with the Q tag, and apparently we're doing only Q tags today. Paul, you got another Q tag player you want to throw into the mix?
Oh man, we got to get cheap. Is there any Q defense?
Come on, DraftKings, give us a Q defense.
Probably the Jaguars.
Well, so let's do Dalton Schultz.
Okay.
Ooh, Dalton Schultz running hot so far. We've talked a lot about him benefiting from just Dallas not quite getting there every week. All right, who else do we have at flex? So we gotta go cheap here.
So I'm just gonna put it. So we're in the like 3,800 to 4,100 range here for flex.
So do we think Joe Mixon plays? That's one that didn't make the injury news, but I think he's trending towards not being in. So we could take one of the backups. We could take P. Ryan or Evans.
I like that.
Yeah.
And I think Washington is going to be extremely popular defense. So I would say we do Texans or Eagles defense.
I mean, do we think Sam Darnold is? Honestly, this would be the week where Sam Darnold throws like 4 picks after everybody's like, he's the best fantasy QB. He's running in touchdowns. That would be very appropriate, I think, for the Sam Darnold experience.
Yeah. There we go. I like this lineup. I mean, I'm normally not a 3 running back guy, but when I do, it's in QAnon lineups in 150,000 there's 594,000 entries in this tournament. So this lineup's perfect.
I mean, I probably would have went Tony instead of P. Ryan, but.
The double stack Jones?
Yeah.
Actually, I love that. You're right. P. Ryan.
But I don't want to override Spags. So.
No, look, Paul, it's your guest spot here. I'll be here. I'll be here giving shitty takes that people are going to be mean to me about for the rest of the season. So, Paul, let's make it count while you're here. Kadarius Toney, one of my guys too. So I think I win either way.
Wait, Kadarius Toney is one of your brand guys?
I mean, I did say that I thought he was one of the guys who got me 10 points last week in Ride or Die picks. So I think it was just based on how poorly we've been running in that one. I think he's got to be one of my guys.
What was your pick for him?
Over 8. You guys gave me the line at over 8.5 points. So he cruised right by that.
He Victor cruised right by it.
Yeah, he did. He Victor cruised right on by. Paul, it's about that time. What are the plugs you want to say here? I guess, is there anything you want to ask? I feel like we could do a little Q&A here because we got a few minutes. I know Pete's suffering, but that's why we have to extend the show and make Pete suffer here. So, Paul, if you have any questions, you can ask it. But also, if you guys in the chat have some, including Ricky Beer saying RB in the flex, I guess that's why we went to Kadarius Toney. But sometimes it's hard to pass up a cheap RB.
I don't know. This seems to come up in every fantasy stream. It's like NFTs and everything. I have none of them. I'm not opposed to them. I just feel overwhelmed and don't know where to begin. All this stuff is just my hobby. I'm actually an architect. So I have enough going on in my job every day.
What do you build?
I'm actually living in Columbus. If anybody is in Columbus and wants to go to the Dublin Library, I worked on that for like 2 years with a larger.
Not the Urban Meyer bar.
No, I've actually never been there. I have heard they have good chicken fingers.
Yeah, and very friendly guests there, it seems.
But I guess I don't know what my questions would be. I feel like I got into DFS like 3 years ago, and I remember Pete as Mans, and I thought like that was his legitimate like personality, and I thought like he just really liked Kyle Juszczyk. And so and then when I think like last year before, I just started following more DFS stuff on YouTube. I remember watching On the Contrary a lot on Osimo. So, I mean, I'm always fascinated by the people who do the kind of content, but then there's like a whole underlayer of people who are like the pros who are kind of don't really do content, but you always see their names like crushing. And, it's just like, it's an interesting community that seems pretty like small, but also like not everyone knows everyone. And then like with Discord and stuff, it's gotten like so big, and it's like I don't have any great questions. Sorry. I mean,
you just had a commencement speech, really.
About commencement speech, yeah. Like I don't know.
No, that's fair. We got some questions in the chat, so we can all answer them here. We got CB asking any thoughts on Corey Davis this week. Obviously, he's been running pretty hot here. Zach Wilson looking good. That game's not on the main slate. I don't foresee myself waking up at 6:30 a.m. to play it. So I'll let you guys with your East Coast / Central time, I presume for you, Paul. You guys can give a take here on Corey Davis if you want first.
I legit hadn't even thought about Corey Davis yet this week. I'm sorry. I have 0 Corey Davis takes for you. I just
Paul,
don't.
you got any Corey Davis takes?
Oh man.
You don't have to, trust me. I just passed on it.
I guess I don't really follow the Jets, and so.
All right, so here's what Corey Davis is going for him this week. The Falcons are running zone 80% of the time. Corey Davis averaging 3.2 yards per route run, a 23% target share against zone defense. That's a positive. Also, honestly, we know this team looked good last year. DVOA also going to be a favorable matchup this week. According to DVOA, 15.5% boost overall from that Atlanta defense, including a 7.5% boost to the pass game and a 31.4%. Oh boy, Pete, what if Mike Davis goes to London and finally is good? And then we need Mike Davis to play every game in London.
Yeah, I think you just leave him over there. I'm sure there's some professional football league in the United Kingdom where he could actually be good.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, look, Mike Davis has to be good somewhere, and maybe a Greenwich Mean Time will be the move that gets him over the top. We also had one question from Nick, too. Nick was asking, Pete, what's the whale play for tonight? I know you're trying to middle Russell Wilson, so I would say the whale play is taking Russell Wilson over 292.5 yards for me.
Over 292? It's a big number, Spags.
Just because you trying to middle it means he's inevitably going to throw for 400 tonight.
I mean, if he does, then I'll get it on both sides. So that's how we do, Spags.
Old arbitrage Pete, is that the new character?
Our Pete. Also, before I forget, DraftKings hooked me up with a rake-free single entry tournament for the Deposit Kingdom. Going forward, I'm going to probably make it like Discord link exclusive, but because this is the first one and it's late in the week, I have it down in the show notes. So there's only a few tournaments out there where you can actually get rake-free contests. So if you're trying to build your bankroll, this is the best way to do it. Single entry, it's 350 people, $10. The link's down below. Fill that so we can keep asking DraftKings to make it bigger. So shout out to DraftKings for hooking us up with that link. Take advantage of it. Link down below.
Wait, so you're just straight up stealing the old Levitan and Smizzle show bit that you're just like they would do like hashtag make it bigger. I remember I was an avid fan of that show, and now you're one of Levitan's best friends in the world.
No, I mean, it was literally out of necessity because when you create your own leagues, like contests within a league, they cap it at 200. You literally can't make it bigger. And so it would fill every week by Thursday. And then people are like, I can't get in. And so the only way to get around it is if DraftKings will create a private league for you. And I put out on Twitter, will they do it? And the people rallied and someone reached out to me. Smiz gave a hat tip to his DraftKings contact and they made it happen. So yeah, shout out to DraftKings.
I have a question about.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Paul, I'm sorry. I'm also learning that Ohio's in the Eastern time zone too. So we're all learning stuff today. Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. It's pretty close to, I guess, being in Central.
It feels central in my heart. That's all.
With some of these like listener league contests, it's like kind of goes back to the like the Millimeter Maker. I feel like with the listener league stuff, it's probably just do it for fun, enter it for fun, just for like bragging rights within the community. But like, I always like go back and forth. And like, say I want to spend $300 a week or less, like a set amount. It's like if I win one of the big tournaments, do you think it's still beneficial to throw in more money to some of the smaller like Pat Mayo League stuff? I mean, it's like
so. I'm clearly. It might sound like I'm biased because I clearly want this tournament to fill, but if you care about building your bankroll, you should be playing in every rake-free tournament possible, almost regardless. I mean, yeah, if you're a whale and you don't need to bother with it, but take advantage of the Mayo $15 3 max. Joe Holka has a rake-free one on FanDuel. I now have this one. It is because the rake legit. That's why DFS is so hard, because you have to not only be a winning player, but a winning player enough that you're beating the rake. Yeah. And so when you remove the rake, your just expectation is so much higher.
Yeah, and that was part of our sales pitch with some of the Osmo sponsorships on there, where Yahoo, I know, is doing some rake-free stuff just to get people in. And that is legitimately the best thing you do for yourself as a player. So your instinct is right, Paul, that you are making the right move there. And I think, the questioning it, max out tournaments you can afford is the other part that we tell is kind of general DFS advice. But besides that, like that's sort of the rake-free thing is really the biggest thing you do. And obviously there is a reason why DraftKings and FanDuel, for the most part, besides these listener leagues, are never rake-free.
Yeah.
So we got one question here too from John, was asking, can we get a name the kid Spags bet going? The child has already been named. I think I said it on the show one time. So Pete would have to really offer some juicy odds for me to go back to my girlfriend and go, hey, we now have to name our child. That's something Pete wanted after an episode of Splash Play.
Yeah, I'm not looking to destroy your relationship.
Look, Pete Spagnuolo certainly could be a name too. Or we could marry each other, Pete, and then we can also have that same outcome.
No, we need to end the show. I have a pulsing headache right now, and I need to go rest.
All right, so Paul, what's the plugs for you here? Besides, obviously, Pete's plugs are going to be for Advil. Paul, your plugs for the week. Anything you want to promote out there besides, of course, the Deposit Kingdom Discord, which you are a prominent member of?
Yeah, you can follow me. This sounds odd, but I'm actually more active on Instagram. Just my name, Paul Adair.
Oh, lots of thirst traps on there, right?
My Twitter is very quiet. It's yeah. I don't even need to give it out because I really don't go on there except for just to lurk.
There you go. We'll hit you up on Instagram then.
All right. So Paul, what's the handle on Instagram?
It's my name, Paul Adair, no spaces.
All right, so there you go. Follow at Paul Adair, Adair, if you want to go follow him out, show a little love to one of the guys doing a great job, just helping support the show, which is all we can ask for. And if you want to be in this spot that Paul was in today, what a top form show he got to be a part of by us. Please go leave us 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts. Make sure to go follow at Peter Overzet, follow at Chris Spags, follow at Paul Adair on Instagram, and also go subscribe to Pete's channel, do all that stuff. And we'll be back with you guys tomorrow, 2:30 with John Daigle from NBC Sports Edge. So come join us then and pray for Pete's head and delicate little eyes.
Yeah, thank you. If for some reason I cancel the Showdown show tonight, just know I'm resting my delicate little eyes.
Delicate little eyes.
Okay. I'm done with the character work today.
Bye, guys.